Hi guys, welcome to the Dred Effects Custom Paint Beginners classes. Everybody, welcome back. I left you off in part 6 and we've completed the eye. This was basically a little test piece just to show you these techniques that we've learnt along in the classes. The dagger strokes, the lines, the dots, a bit of shading, and you can just see what you can get down using them simple techniques. A piece of artwork you could complete using them simple techniques. In today's video guys, we are going to be doing some more basic techniques. I'm not going to run through a picture with you. I'm just going to do my last class on some techniques for you, just so you can get more of a hand with the airbrush and your trigger response again, just to get that trigger response nicely dialed in. So as you can see on the paper here, we've got some little masked out squares. I'm going to do a couple of pieces in there with you. We're going to do some textures. I'll take you across a couple of textures, just so you can get a look at what you can achieve with implementing other pieces with the airbrush and using them both together, and what textures you can get there. We've got some crosshairs, we've got a triangle, we've got like a half moon, a circle, a square, a cross, a line. So I'm going to take you through this piece. This piece will be the first piece we're going to look at. I'll move on a bit later on and we'll do some textures, and then we've got some wavy lines there. So this is another trigger response technique I'll run you through here, and we'll just do a little bit in here. So I've set the airbrush up. Hopefully you've cleaned your brush from the last time and you're all good to go. We're going to use golden high flow acrylics. I'm going to use a black on this, thin it down, 25 psi again, and we'll crack on guys. I'll see you in the next step. Right, I've got the airbrush set up. We've got a bit of golden mixed. I've done 6 drops to 6 drops of water, so 1 to 1. You can thin it down that way if you want to get it to flow nice. We're using an opaque carbon black in here. We're going to take the cap off again and just run this through you again guys. If you take your cap off, just keep in the back of your mind that you're working with the needle exposed. So keep a good eye on it, so when you're putting it back down your airbrush holder, you're not going to dink the needle, or just be really careful when you're going up to your piece of artwork or whatever you're working on, that you've got your needle exposed, and it can dink it quite easily and you can bend it. So we'll give that a little wipe through on the brushes. I'm running 25 psi again, and I'll pan you around and just show you what we've got here. So we've got some crosshairs, small dots, we've got some big circles like that, and this is basically a warm-up practice for you. So this is lines, dots, a bit of shading, and I want you to go in and just do all the lines, the dots, the circles, and this is going to be for your trigger response again, just to get you warmed up with the trigger. So go in, do a dot, move around, do a dot, jump to another one, dot, 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 like that. Small dots on your crosshairs, and this is getting you to move your brush and then aim and shoot, aim and shoot. So you're buzzing round and you're aiming for all the crosshairs, like that. So you can do as many crosshairs as you want. Go in, do all the crosshairs, and then I want you to go in and then do the circles and aim to fill the whole circle. So where you've got a big circle, you'll need to pull back on more paint, distance your brush. So this is moving that way, across, dot, and it gets you moving, getting your accuracy down. So fill the dot, fill the dot, fill the dot, move in, fill the dot, like that. And just go round, filling them dots in, You'll have to move back for that one, move in a bit more paint for that, a little bit of paint for that, and it just gets your finger moving, holding that trigger at different places on the brush, dialing in, hitting them points like that. So go around and do that one, and then the next one will be sort of we'll do some lines to fill the box. So you're going to go in sort of at a slight angle for this one and aim to fill the triangle with lines, aim to fill that one with lines, on, off, like that one, and just aim to get it in that box and fill that box up like that. This one you can cross across, so you can do that, and just aim to fill them pieces in like that. That's a circle again, so you could do round circles in that one. To fill it. And this will just give you trigger response, going in doing a dot on the crosshairs, bang, 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 and move around with the brush, so you're going one there, and you're aiming and hitting them crosshairs. On the next one, the big circles, the little circles, go in, distance, fill that one, back in, do that one, drop that one in, that one, and go round, filling in the circle ones like that. And then on these ones, your half moons, your straight lines that way, straight lines, fill it, straight lines that way, like that way. And that will just warm you up. If you were to have pieces of paper with them set out, that's a nice little warm-up practice. It gets you moving with the brush again. It gets you going down, pinpoint and moving around, getting your accuracy with the crosshairs, and then it just freshens your memory up. Right, I've got to do some half moons, I've got to do some straight lines, I've got to do some circles, cross ones like that, go in that way. It just gets you that movement with the brush and gets your hand, your accuracy, and everything sort of warmed up and fresh in your mind, ready for a bit of airbrushing. So that's a nice one, just a little practice one in, guys, just to freshen your trigger response back up before you're painting. So what I'll do now is I'll move on to, I'll do a couple of basic texture techniques for you. Just a couple of basic ones in here, things that you can use to get some textures and some things that will sort of help you if you're doing. On this one we'll do some hair techniques, because in the eye in part 6 that we just did, there was a bit on the eyebrow. It wasn't very detailed, it was basically a lot of lines, and that was quite a big broad piece to cover. You had the eyelashes, which were the dagger strokes, which were like that. For the eyelashes, which was air on, paint off, keep your air on, and you get your point. That's how I got the eyelashes on the eye, like that, because they came round on the eye, and the ones at the top went sort of like that, going round. So that's how we got them techniques. If you wanted to get some more detail on your hair, you can use the technique that we used on the eyelash, and you would basically come in, I'll do it in this box here, you would come across like that, and you would do loads and loads of lines and overlap the lines like that for a basic hair technique. And what you'd be doing is you'd be following the way the hair goes, you'd follow with them lines coming round. So you just build loads and loads of lines, going in close and getting them, building them lines up to get sort of what looks like a hair technique. If you were doing dark hair like a black, I would go in with some different grey tones, drop a base tone down first, and then just build your colours up in your lines so you see different variations of the lines in colour, and that gives you more of a hair look. Because if you've got black hair, you'd have light hitting it and you'd see different colours in them hairs as you're going across. To make that look even better, you could go in with, say, an acrylic white pencil, and you could start dropping lines across like that. And then you could go back in with the airbrush and just start to go over them and you could build the layers up that way and just bring them across. You can do hair that way to give you them textures and things like that, and then go back over again and just knock them back. That's another good way of getting hair texture like that, so you can build your layers up for hair that way and just keep coming across. There is another way you can do this as well. If you get some wire, I've got a little piece already cut here, and basically strip some wire back. So cut the plasticky part off the wire, and so you've got the strands like that. And the good thing with wire is you can bend it, so if you've got certain ways the hair go, you can bend the wire to what you want, like that. So if we're working back on this piece, you could then spray through the wire and you'll get super fine hairlines. Now if you go for a tone underneath, go for like a light grey underneath, drop your wire on and you can build them up like that and just keep going over, moving the wire like that. And that will give you that nice soft, and then you get your real sharp textures like that. You can do hair this way. You can get different size strands. You can also get brush. This is basically up a paintbrush. And if you wanted that real sharp, like you can use brushes to get your textures as well for hair. So that's worth having a play with, guys. That's just a simple basic hair technique that you can use. Use some wire, place it on your piece of paper, spray through it, and then you'll get that nice effect using wire. Try different thicknesses of wire, different lengths. You can bend it to the shape you want, so you can, if you've got a hairline that's quite curly, you can make the curls in that wire, put it to your piece of paper, spray on top, and you'll get the nice sharp hairlines. You can also get if you want some real fine sharp, you can cut a piece of paper and then you can put them two pieces together, hold them, spray along the line. You can get some real super fine, like single strand looks by using paper. So that's a basic hair technique. Like I say, use all the tools that you can get your hands on, guys. You've not got to try and get all the fine hairline details down with an airbrush. You can adapt, use these techniques and implement these different pieces, put on, spray through, and you'll get them effects as well. In this square here, I do another technique, which is one that you can use for clouds. So if you're doing a sky sort of thing, you've got the blue and you need to get some fluffy clouds, you can do it with an airbrush and sort of mottle it across like that, using your distances, going in and creating random shapes like that and fluff it with the airbrush. Or you can get a Scotch-Brite, pull a Scotch-Brite apart, and this will give you a soft look like that. I'll just drop a little bit more paint in. So spraying through a Scotch-Brite will give you that soft texture like that. So you can use that technique in clouds and drop a bit of that in. You can also, if you get some cotton wool and just manipulate some cotton wool and pull it apart like that, you can lay that onto your piece and you can spray through cotton wool. You may have to turn your air pressure down. This is a little pad. If you get the actual cotton wool ball, it'll break up a little bit better than what this is doing. But you get the idea. You can spray through things and you get different textures, different soft edges and things like that. Another good one to use is the sheets that you put in your tumble dryer, like the freshen up type sheets. They break up really well. You can pull them along and they're nice for an effect on clouds. You can use them. So there's some basic techniques on textures. If you wanted to do airbrush textures, like some real fine textures, you can go in with the brush really small and you can get a texture just dotting the brush about, moving the brush around, so very light paint, and you can get little squiggles, little clean. And just do some random shapes. I'm basically doing sort of a little figure of 8 with the brush and moving it around. And you can get little textures like that. You can do dots, loads and loads of little dots to get textures. You can keep your paint down very lightly and flick the brush. I did that on the eye and just bounced the brush, kept the trigger down with very little paint and just flicked that brush backwards and forwards, giving you like a line both ways, and that'll give you a little texture. So just have a play guide on textures. Spray through things, wire, cotton wool, Scotch-Brite, pull it apart, and it'll get you different textures. And when you're looking at pictures, have a good close look at them textures and what way they go. And if you're doing a piece, follow the way the textures go, follow the way the hair goes, And just keep that in mind when you're painting, say, a portrait and you've got textures on the top or things like that. Always look at the direction of the way them fibres go and try and follow the way these patterns go in your pieces, because there's nothing worse than doing a piece of artwork and then putting your own pattern in. I've done it in the past. If I've done a top and look at the top and think, crikey, I'm not going to sit through 6 hours of trying to do that texture, I'll put my own variation of a texture in. You can do that. It's your preference, it's your picture. Just go with what you want, but try and follow on anything on the face, sort of the hair as well. I would go with the textures and try and get them as close to that picture as possible. When it comes to clothing and things like that, you can vary your textures to get it to look sort of like what you're aiming for. But just have a play, guys. It's all about having a play with the airbrush. See, I'm just literally drawing with the brush, paint down and backwards and forwards, and if you went over that way, you're getting another type texture, which would probably be good for a top, because you've got a line that way, sort of looks like a fibre. If that was on a top, it would look like fibres. So yeah, just have a play, guys. On this, moving on to the squiggly lines, I'm going to do this one, it's going to wrap this one up for part 7, guys. We've got some squiggly lines and I just wanted to get you a bit more trigger control down. So this is going to be sort of air on, paint off, and we're going to go round like that. And it's just giving you that wavy line, so it's your half moon line, so you're going like a line. So air, paint on, paint off, same thing as what you're doing. You're starting from here, air, paint on, paint off, like that, and then just do that pass, like that. So you're doing the line technique, but you're just moving that brush and doing them point to points. You're not going to go all the way, just go to there, 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 and work your way along. There, 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 like that. And this will give you that stroke where you're moving with the brush again, bringing in the paint, pulling back off that paint, so you're getting your point. So air, paint on, paint off to the point, air, paint on, paint off, paint on, paint off. And this will get you another good one for hair. If you're doing hair, it gets you moving with the brush and just creating different shapes, getting comfortable moving that brush in different angles and ways. Just another good practice, guys, another good practice technique just to get you moving, because you can get a little rigid with the airbrush when you're first starting out. You're tending to concentrate on the trigger. You're looking at the trigger and you're putting all your effort and concentration into getting that movement. But if you practice them basic techniques where we were basically doing a small movement with a line, dropping down a dot, practicing them to get that trigger moving, and then you moved on to the lines, a little bit of shading, and as you've progressed on and you're moving in different angles and different directions, you'll begin to be a lot more confident with the brush. You'll feel that trigger, you'll know when to get that paint on and take that paint off. I just want you to start moving with it, relaxing with the brush more, getting more comfortable. Don't feel stiff in your upper body. Really get comfy and just flow. Just practice flowing with the brush like that. On with the trigger, off with the trigger. Nice flowy lines. Just if you have to do a whole panel of wavy lines, and it just gets you comfortable with that trigger, pressing the trigger nice and soft, not thinking about that. You just paint on, paint off, paint on a line, paint off, on a circle, paint on, paint off. We're going to do a triangle, line, 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 bit of shading, on with the trigger, on, off, flow with the brush, soft, nice and smooth, relaxed. You're not all rigid, your hand's not tense, you're not doing like a minute with the airbrush, you're getting cramp in your finger and you're going like this because you're holding the brush too tight. Just nice and soft. Just think like you're holding a pen and you're writing, but you're just off the paper and it's, yep. So down, across, down, nice and smooth. Just flowing with it, relaxing. And that's what it's about, is relaxing with it. Once you've got all the basics down, like you've got your paint dialed in, you know your pressure. So you're not going to worry about that. That paint's mixed, it's fine. And then you move on, you've practiced all your dots, you've practiced your lines, you've got your trigger response nice and comfortable, and just go in and start doodling like that. Doodling with them exercises, so you go from a dot, 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 oh, we'll drop a line, we'll do a circle, we'll drop another dot, we'll do a half moon, we'll do some dagger stroke flick outs. And you'll get to this stage where you're doing all this, and we can do them, we can dot, 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 we can find the dots where we want them, I can go straight in, bang, bang, like that. Once you're that comfortable with it, moving along with the brush, you know exactly when that paint's coming out. You know you can go wallop, bang in the middle of that, do a dot there, do a circle, drop another circle, do a little bit of shading off that circle. Once you're moving like that with the brush, that's when I would say stop pushing yourself on artwork and challenging yourself on tough pieces to do. Once you've got that skill of flowing with the brush and knowing that trigger response to go from a thick line to then go straight down and then do a tiny line, broad stroke, tiny dot, shade, line. Once you've got that down, stop then pushing on your artwork, because you've got all these basic skills are down, you've mastered them, and then just start progressing on your artwork and challenging yourself. Do a basic piece and then think, right, I've nailed that, or if it's not quite right, do that one again, go in again on it and make that piece that you've done better, and keep them pieces. All your test panels, keep them. So then years down the line, you can go back in your portfolio and go, crikey, that's where I started. That's where I learned my basics. That's what I went from, and now look where I am. 2 years down the line, you will see your progression, and it will progress really, really quick, guys. If you're doing 2 to 3 hours a day, practice, 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 you'll progress so quick, and then before you know it, year down the line, you're painting good, realistic pieces and doing them comfortably. So I hope these lessons have learned you something. I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope your journey goes well on the airbrushing. If you want to leave any comments, if you need any help at any time, just drop some comments on any of these class videos, guys, and I'll get back to you straight away if you need help with anything along the way on your journey, whether it be about the airbrushing, paint, papers, anything like that. just drop them comments. I'm here to help. That's what it's all about on these classes. So if you need any advice, just drop it on any of these videos and I'll jump straight on it and get back to you. Or you can get me on the email. I'll put that in the bottom just there. Just send me an email and I'll get straight back to you that way. Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram, and you can follow me on Facebook. You can get through that way as well. So I just want to say a big warm welcome to all the new subscribers and all the comments you're leaving on the videos. It's much appreciated, guys. Really do enjoy going through the comments. We've had some fun times, and there's the games room build that I've just done, which was fun. So it's nice to get back onto the paint. It was good to get on the tools, but it's been nice to get back on the paint, do a little bit of teaching for you guys. I've got some more reviews coming up. Got my eye on another airbrush. It's not an expensive one. It'll be a sort of a beginner's brush again, but I'll do a review on that when I get it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.